This meeting is being recorded. Good afternoon to everybody who is logged on. We have at this moment 176 participants. We'll wait for a few, one more minute before we officially start. I think many people are still coming in. As you can see from the screen, we have two incredible ladies. One, Miss Pamela, who is the group HR. She's the lady of human resource at MUI Group. And then the other lady is Miss Rachel Tan. She is a legal advisor in a renowned company called MECA, Malaysian Employment Consultancy. They are well-versed in human resource matters, right? Rachel, is that correct for me to say that? Yeah. So it's 5:31 now. We've got about 200 people already. So let's start. Once again, I repeat, good afternoon. Welcome to the Brickfields College webinar run together with my law firm, Richard Wee Chambers. I am Richard Wee, and together with us today for our webinar, we will be discussing about the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the issues of employment, human resource, and industrial relations in Malaysia. I think that we all know what's happening out there. We are unable to work. Employers are wondering what to do. Can they cut salary? Can they carry out retrenchment? Unpaid leave. I've been approached by the sports people what to do with the sports contract, sports employment. They have the same problem. Tournaments are not going on. What do we do? Employees are, of course, wondering, can they earn salary? Can they still continue working? What is going to happen to their jobs? So everyone's concerned about our work, life, career, and work. And so before I start, I would like to go on record to thank Brickfields Asia College, particularly Mr. Rajasingam, Mr. Rajan, and Miss Julie, who's the background in this event, and of course the technical team of BAC who got all of us here. Without further ado, I would like to first mention the two names of the speakers. Firstly is Miss Pamela Gay. She is the Group HR Director of the MUI Group. Some of us may mention it as the MUI Group, but actually the correct name to pronounce that company is the MUI Group. And then the other lady who will be speaking with us is Miss Rachel Tan. She's Legal Counsel of MECA. We will start off by introducing the two ladies. They will speak about themselves. Then we'll set the tone for our discussion, and then we'll start. So Pamela, over to you. Maybe you can just share with us a few minutes about yourself.
Okay, great. Hi everyone. I'm Pamela. I've been as a HR practitioner for about 13 years now, with a couple of years in legal practice as well. I joined the group August of last year, so things are still being very dynamic at the point of time. So yeah, I'm still learning about the company, and this is the best time to learn, right? Yeah,
it is. Thank you, Pam. Rachel, over to you. Would you care to just share with us about yourself, and particularly, very interestingly, what is MECA is all about?
Thank you, Rick. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Brickfields College. Nice to meet you, Pam.
Yeah. Nice to meet you too.
I'm Rachel. I'm Rachel. I'm with MECA. I've been with MECA since 2018. We are actually an industrial relations specialist where we advise our members regarding IR matters, day-to-day conduct of employees, employee and employee relationship. Company has been around for 22 years. Started by our chairman, Mr. Bala Subramaniam, and he is actually author of a few IR books as well. So for now, we have a manpower over 20, and the consultants, we have MECA South, we have a South branch, we also have MECA North, MECA Penang. So we have 3 branches around Malaysia so far to assist our clients and members.
Yeah, well done. In fact, I think many people may not realize, as you know now, the favorite way to communicate is to forward messages on WhatsApp. I think thousands and thousands of Malaysians have been receiving MECA updates, so well done. For those of you who have been receiving updates from a company called MECA, red color with a flash, and you don't know who they are, there you are. You have her now on the screen from MECA. Well done. We have a question here from Eddie. He said, may I know whether the meeting is available on Facebook? Unfortunately, no. He's just here. Now, on that point, just nice, some housekeeping. We do have a Q&A tab below the screen. You can click and tap your tab. We have 200, oh my God, 230 people online. Thank you so much for registering. What was meant to be a casual evening chat between three of us have turned out to be such a big following. Thank you very much. But it's just a testament of the lower of the topic and the lower of the speakers. You know, two of you have good branding. So for the Q&A, put your questions down. We'll try to answer maybe at about 6:15, 6:20. I'm looking at my clock. Because there's so many people, I'm sure there are many questions, so I'll try to group it together and we'll try to address it. Now take note, this webinar is not a free advice webinar. We are going to talk about the guiding issues and guiding principles on how, for example, someone like Pam, who is a HR director, what are the principles in the mind of an HR in such a situation? And the company as large as MUI Group. And then, of course, as a lawyer, I will offer some legal comments. And then Rachel, who's both a lawyer and an HR practitioner, she will be able to give you views from a company's angle, employer's angle, SME, a big SME, small SME, all kinds of SME, that angle. And then I will try to speak on behalf of the employee. So I will be the man on the street to try and see what the employee thinks about. So that's the angle we take. Can we do it, ladies?
Yes, sure.
All right, let's start. Okay, so without further ado, we'll just, instead of trying to create a scenario and discuss, I thought we'll just go straight to the topics, which I remembered we shared on our WhatsApp group. You know, so I'm going to our WhatsApp group now to see the topics we discuss. Okay, here. So I think the most favorite topic that almost every human resource, employment lawyer, or people like Rachel are facing now is, salary how? Salary how? Can deduct? You know, so the employer will ask the question, salary can deduct? Then salary can delay a portion. Then of course employee cannot lah, I cari makan. How can you cut my salary? You know. So these are the two you know, battling principles that we are facing. So let me first ask Rachel. You know, you're doing this practice every day. Would you like to share with us your experience since MCO started? The kind of queries that you have received specifically about salaries. Maybe you can share, everybody can hear the complaints and the queries that you'll be receiving. All yours, Rachel.
Thank you, Rick. To be honest, the first week of MCO is to pay or not to pay. That is the question. That was the only question we got for the entire week for the first week of MCO. We range from people who are actually foreseeing that there will be zero work and therefore they're not getting any payment. There are people who are also unable to pay because there is no, they cannot do collection, right? So issues like that actually hinder the financial flow in the company. So some of the employees, thereafter, the minister said that you cannot deduct pay. Now that becomes viral. Can a company deduct pay? Honestly speaking, by law, you cannot deduct pay unilaterally.
You can't unilaterally. The Employment Act is very clear on that, yes.
Correct. The Employer Act is very clear that you cannot deduct unilaterally, but you must get consent. Now, the truth remains is, can an employer get consent? Yes, they can. And there are employees who are willing to consent because they are very aware of what the company is going through. And the willingness is really depending on industry basis. I'll give you an example, the hotel industry, right? The entire hotel industry is not working right now. Like literally there's no work for anybody.
Yeah, so they will have that problem, isn't it?
Tourism is not functioning at all. Correct. So no one in the company can say that I have something to do because there is nothing to do.
Interesting, interesting.
And
So,
one of my clients actually initiated an unpaid, and she had 98% acceptance of unpaid leave, voluntary unpaid.
The company,
because
the employees were willing to take it. Yeah, good.
Because they know there's nothing to do. There's no point for them sitting in the office or being in the hotel when there's nothing to do. There's no resources. There's no people. So there are ways that you can get employee to accept or agree to a voluntary unpaid, only because they are also aware what industry they are in and what dire situation they are in.
So basically, Rachel, we are discussing about the, in fact, in short, as usual, my job moderator, I'm the moderator, supposed to summarize it. We are trying to see whether we need to be transparent with the employees, between the employer and the employees, and try to be open and frank. You know, Pamela, you are the employer side. You are the group HR director. What are the kind of principles and the guiding issues in your mind an HR director or HR practitioner like you would take into account to come to any particular decision? You know, now people are all talking about, oh, cut salary, cut salary. Let's turn the other way around. If you want to improve salary, you want to give more money to the staff, what are the kind of guiding principles that your company will consider? And of course, that way we work in the other way around. What if you want to, review the salary? All yours, Pam. What principles for you?
So, when we look at, ways to have a win-win situation, right, for both people, it's not that they choose not to work, and it's not like the employer chooses not to give work to the employee, right? We can always take this time to look at what else can we do if we are not at work. For example, there are a lot of things. It could be continuous development plans. It could be, working on things that you've put off because you've been too busy doing the day-to-day jobs. Of course, this comes with the tools and resources that's available for the people as well, right? But nowadays, everyone uses a smartphone, or everyone has a computer at home with internet. Some people don't, which is something that we have to look into. Like, can we help them? Can we subsidize? Can we, help them to get the tools that they can use while they're at home? So I think learning and development is something that we can consider.
While during this time, right?
Yes, during this time.
That's a very, very positive way to do things. So I can see your principles. You're trying to, that means basically you're in your mind, we need to look for alternatives.
Correct.
Look at other ways to do it.
Yeah. Correct. I mean, after all, even during the normal working time, we do take time off to send people for training. Albeit, it's always going to be, now it's going to be online training, perhaps. We should look into that as well. It's not going to be face-to-face, but at least, they get something out of this. At least be a little bit more productive at this point of time.
Now, I'm going to unfortunately ask you some difficult questions, Pam, and I don't. And for the record, gentlemen, whatever Pam is saying is not a reflection of what MUI Group is doing. It's just a personal view, right? So I don't want later someone call me, wow, your HR. It is a general discussion, right? Now, what are the kind of principles and issues that may be in your mind to advise your group directors, etc., in terms of reviewing the salary system at this moment? What are the things which come to your mind?
Of course, we're going to look at, cash flow, because we have different companies and they're all in different industries, right? If you're familiar, we have retail, we have hotels, we have manufacturing, financial services, and property. So each of them have different approaches. So what we're going to do is to look at how each of the business has been affected. Of course, that starts with a business continuity plan, which we did earlier on during the MCO. So, we have to look at where have we been affected and how long can we sustain the cash flow for. I mean, some companies are a little bit more prepared and some companies are less prepared at this point of time. So, what we have to look at is how long can we sustain, for example, to keep paying full salary, and also how long can we negotiate, or can we negotiate with the employee to to take a pay cut, think of innovative ways, for example, take a pay cut, and then maybe you'll be reimbursed at a later time. Some companies can also put in interest. For example, if you take a 10% pay cut now, maybe we'll pay you back in interest later on.
Yeah.
When the company gets better.
Why not? Yeah. That's a good idea, I like that. It goes to show that the company is really trying to find positive solution.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to get people, we don't want to have people not having a job after, 2 months if you pay them full salary, right? I think we're all aware of that. And also, I think communication with the employee early on, being a bit more transparent with them, having a lot of touch points with them as we go along this period. I think that's very important because employees are always wondering what's going on with all the new, subsidy plans coming up. They also want to know whether they're going to get paid.
Yeah. Rachel, would you agree with me, right? Good point, Pamela. I like how you put it down. Yeah. No wonder you are the group HR director. Don't play. Rachel, legally, right? Under Section 2 of the Employment Act, there's a very interesting definition of wages. It defines wages. In fact, if I can read out, it specifically talks about work done, right? So this is where it cuts both ways because Section 2 of the Employment Act defines contract of services, which is about our employment, right? And then when it comes to payment of salary, it says basic wage and all other payment in cash payable to an employee for work done in respect of contract of service, his contract of service. So of course, for the employer point of view, no work is done. Many factories are closed. Of course, those who work from home, I think the employee has a case, but when it comes to a company which is totally forced to be closed, then work is not done. The employer may refer to that basis to hold back salary. But for the employee side, the employee will say, look, this is not me. It's not that I don't want to work. I'm not allowed to work. So there comes the conundrum where we stand. So from your point of view, Rachel, and I've seen fantastic updates from MECA, how do you tackle this issue?
Actually, this is more of a risk issue. Yes, I agree that Section 2
Good point. I like the word risk issue. Very good. Yeah.
Okay. We have actually told our clients or our members often and again that, look, few things has happened throughout the MCO. Number one, we are talking about legality of the status. What is MCO to employment? Is it a suspension? Is it a force majeure? Is it a frustration? Now, if we are going to go with frustration, we are saying that the contract ends. That means you and I have no relationship after this. So after this, nobody come back to work, right? If you do this frustration and not pay your employee. Force majeure has to be an express term, which I don't think most contract will have. So you cannot actually impose that again.
Yeah.
Then we have to grapple around Section 2, which says that payment for work done. So no work, no need to pay. But that, by relying on that, that could also subject to abuse. So next time, company no collection, or this month no collection, I don't want to pay salary.
Yeah, very dangerous. It sets a bad precedent. Yeah.
Exactly. So of course we say that there's no work done, but in this situation, where does MCO put employment? For us, our stand is employment is currently suspended. There is a chance that we can argue that and say that it's under suspension and that there's no work done and therefore there's no work from both sides, not because the company wants to or whether the employee wants to. So if you don't pay, is there a possibility? I would argue there is, but there's a risk of going forward with it because if you're not a risk taker as an employer, then pay law, follow the minister and say and pay. But if you're willing to go forward, and then later in time, if your employee sues you, I would love to hear what the judge say. I would like to see what the judicial review say about this on this stand.
Yeah.
It is a gray area, honestly speaking. But
I must say,
on both sides.
Yeah, fantastic. I must say, Rachel, it's a very creative way of putting it, that the contract is suspended. Very interestingly, FIFA, the World Football, have already also started using that phrase, that the employment contract for footballers all over the world may be suspended because the football leagues the NBA is doing the same thing. So sometimes we may want to look at the way sports run it because they have a more refined contract as compared to our contract. Ours is normal 9 to 5. A sports contract will have a injury, how this, how that. So it's a much more refined contract. It's interesting to see how they run it. But you see, on that point, Rachel, you said it very well. There's a risk issue. I think both employer and employee will have to face risk, especially the employer if they take that position that the contract is suspended. And according to Section 2, kalau tak ada kerja, tak dapat gaji. No work, no pay, as per the words of Section 2. It's a dangerous word, but I also think we live in dangerous times. Circumstances are unprecedented.
Rick, can I just share with you that in one of our case law that I can't remember the name, the life of me, but it's regarding a collective agreement where the company was going through a massive business loss. But in the collective agreement, they were supposed to pay out a certain increment to the employee. So what they did was they couldn't pay, and the employee obviously took the company to court, an industrial court. But in that case, the industrial court said that this is a special circumstances, that the company is genuinely having a business.
Oh, yes, that case. I know which case you're talking about. Yes.
Just the life of me, the name of the case just can't come out. And because of that, the court says because it's a special circumstances, the company can opt not to pay. But of course, the company said they will pay in due time whenever they can. So it is not wrong for us to use this employment or suspension and say that it is a special circumstance, that currently we are in a special circumstances.
You know, Pam, would an HR director like you take that into account, that, you know, we live in unprecedented times, we may have to do unprecedented things, and as what Rachel very nicely put it, there may be some risks involved. Would you agree with that there's a risk in the HR practice?
There's always a risk. There's definitely always a risk. And I think that, you know, with this, you know, it brings about creativity on, you know, how do we use the law, you know, what do we do within the law to be able to get a situation, an outcome that, you know, that is beneficial for both sides. You know, of course, you know, there's always a testing ground on how this would work. And as long as, I think communication with the people in terms of getting their buy-in and getting them to really understand the situation, hopefully, you know, these are the people that you can actually, you know, keep, look to retain in the long term as well, right? So yeah, I think that it is going to be very challenging, but I think it's going to change the way that, you know, people look at employment as well.
I think we must, ladies and gentlemen, we have 278 participants. Thank you very much. Terima kasih. Really unexpected number. We have some very interesting questions. Kindly take note, ladies and gentlemen. Pam, Rachel, and I, we're not professing that we know the answer for sure, and I think all of you also know. But the idea of this discussion is to find some roadmap, some sort of solution which may be customized for your issue, either as an employee or employer. For example, a question came in, Rachel, asking us what are the legal basis for contract is suspended. I will tell you straight that the legal basis is virtually none. You have to look at the situation and be creative and say, look, the contract is not moving, so we have to suspend. Whether it's right or wrong, we will probably know many, many months from now when it's tested in court. Right. But it's something the companies have to take, especially when I'm just summarizing, as Pam very nicely put it just now earlier, cash flow. The company have to look at cash flow. You may want to pay, you may want to do everything possible, but kalau syarikat tak ada duit, that may be a problem. Personally, my view is this. As a legal advisor, we do meet clients who ask us all the time. Very funnily, the last 3 weeks, a lot of my advice is got very little to do with law, but being very practical. So for example, one classic advice I like to offer is, look, talk to your staff, be frank, show statistics, be transparent, inform the staff. This is what we have. This is the prospective income, especially for SME lah, you know, the big companies who sell millions and millions of goods. I cannot imagine them suddenly suffering like this. But for a lot of SMEs, you know, they sell certain things, services, small product, turnover is not that high. They will go through a lot of difficulty now. So that is one of the solutions. Talk to your staff. try to work together as compared to now at the moment, many people see it as you and me, us and them. That is not the way forward at the moment. If we continue doing like that, then everybody will be suing everybody in 6 months' time. The only one who will make money is the lawyer. So I don't think that is a very healthy. So of course, my lawyer friends will be all upset, but that may not be a healthy thing to do. I think the better way is for lawyers now to go in and help people like Pam to find a business review. Macam mana mau cari solution? There is a way. There's always a way. So, okay, on that point, I want to try and jump forward a bit, Pam and Rachel. A lot of hot topic now is because of what our Prime Minister has announced. So if you can see on a list of topics I gave you, it's we're talking about the government wage subsidy program. Right? So, you know, Pam, in the last few weeks, once the Prime Minister announced this, the government announced this, what kind of steps have you taken in order to discover the process of doing this, the trigger points to allow your company to seek refuge in this? Macam mana mau minta tolong, bagaimana pertolongan daripada kerajaan, bolehkah kerajaan kita tolong kita? What kind of steps have you done? All your steps.
Okay, so of course, you know, it was very helpful that the government has actually come up with the subsidies for the companies. I think that, you know, we were all welcoming this because, you know, the burden has been shared, right? So of course, we look at, you know, whether or not the companies would qualify to apply for the subsidies. And at first it was, we didn't know whether or not how many people we can actually apply for. But now they've come up with more guidelines, it's clearer. Now they have 3 categories. So, you know, and it applies to different sizes of industry, different sizes of the companies. And, you know, it's gotten a little bit better now, although I'm sure that there are still companies who fall, you know, between the cracks, who might not be able to apply for this. But it's a good thing that, you know, in first category, they say you don't have to show your financial statements, you know, don't have to show a 50% loss. So that's a really real relief for some people. But of course, you know, I'm sure that a lot of businesses can actually qualify for this. We're definitely, you know, looking into this as well. And I'm sure a lot of companies are also participating in this. I think it's a good thing. I think they should really look into trying to get some help, definitely. But of course, we have to also take into consideration that, you know, you have to keep these people for the next 6 months, right? You know, will this help compared to if you would have to think about restructuring your organization? For example, you know, let's not skid around the issue. Some companies would have to downsize. So some retrenchments are going to take place, I suppose. So, you know, whether or not retrenchment compared to the subsidy is going to be, you know, which one would weigh out better? So I think that's something that is in consideration of some people, some companies. And basically we also worry that, you know, what if the fund runs out, you know, if you don't put in your application? Because I think one of the clauses says that, you know, as long as there is enough fund and if there's no changes. So of course, you know, we cannot just bank on it 100%. It's not going to be a guarantee for the next 3 months. Yes, maybe the first month it might help you out. So of course, the subsidies actually do help. I think that is one part. But I think we have to think about it in a holistic view. You know, are these the people that we want to keep, or are these the people that you cannot afford to keep? You know, for the next 6 months, you have to be realistic when we look at this.
Sorry, okay, sorry, I'm sorry for, apologize for intruding, but to be fair, when it comes to retrenchment, we have to show, a company has to show redundancy. You know, it's at the moment, redundancy may be defined in a particular way. I don't think it's the staff are being redundant. I think the employees are being not able to work. It's not their doing, you know.
I think redundancy, if I may, I think redundancy comes together with a business restructuring plan, right? And if, for example, some companies would have already been in the process, right? And it's not that, you know, they're taking this opportunity to make people redundant, but, you know, that probably might have been in the plan for some time already, or maybe this is a good time for them to look into it. I'm just saying, as a practitioner, this is, why not look at it now?
Yeah, I agree. Well, I'm going to come to Rachel soon, but we have 273 sign-ins and we have 26 questions, all very difficult and really to the point. It goes to show our participants came well prepared. Thank you very much. You're putting us under a real spotlight. But Rachel, from so far, with all this subsidy program that's going on, I think one of the prevalent questions everyone is asking is, how do you apply? Even Pam is going through that struggle. Who do you apply per case? So which ministry, blah, blah, blah. What are the documents? Do you have any comment on that, Rachel?
First and foremost, MECA is not the hotline for Perkeso.
Obviously, you've been getting called, right?
Like today, the website is not up. Someone actually called and said, why is it not up? I said, hello, I'm not Perkeso hotline here. Wrong person. But to apply, yes, we can tell you the consultancy or the advisory part of apply. The website that you should be going to is prihatin.perkeso.gov.my. The list.
You hear that, ladies and gentlemen? Prihatin, huh? Prihatin dot?
Perkeso.gov.my.
Okay.
But I believe as of today, it's still not updated. It's not live yet. By tomorrow, they say they will be able to go live, which is actually the date of their start date. They put in their earlier FAQs that 9 April will be their kick-off date. And there was also an update because what Pam just said, they have just increased the volume or the accepted application for eligibility for each company.
Yes. Muhyiddin just announced it. Our time stream Muhyiddin just announced that, yeah.
Right. So because of that, they are still doing an update. And I find that the recent updates of the eligibility is actually much more generous. Of course, they did say it will have to be depend on how much fund left lah. So cepat-cepat dia dapat lah.
Yeah. But I think even on my side, Rachel, my law firm, we have a team doing employment. They are trying to discover the ABC 1, 2, 3 on the application to help our clients to apply. And then, but everything indicates to go to Perkeso. So we are pushing hard there, but we are also making inquiries with the Ministry of Human Resource to see whether they can share with us. And of course, there's so many organizations out there, the Employment Federation, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, many people can help. So yeah, good.
Update for those who are trying to apply. First and foremost, they need you to declare how many employees. You may say that I only have 20 employees who are eligible for the for the wage subsidy, for example. Subsidy, yeah. You have 500 employees in total, right? So you won't get 1,002. You will fall into the category of the third category where you only get 600 ringgit because the first eligibility is the numbers of employees.
Yeah.
So the second question, who are employees? Everybody who is on your payroll, including foreign workers. All right. But the foreign worker will not be entitled to subsidy. But in terms of headcount, they are going to consider a foreign worker as your employee. So you have to get, although you have 50 people who are eligible, you won't get 1,002. You have to look at the total number of employees. There's a difference here. That's what people might make mistake. Number two, then you have to declare who are the employees who are eligible. Now, then you go to the second phase, which is the eligible parties, which is the 50%. Now, once you're in the program or you get approved, you will get 3 months worth of subsidy. Initially, there were a different kind of requirement where you have to update the ministry about your financial report. Now, there is no need. You just need to show one time and then you get the subsidy for 3 months.
I see.
But you have to retain the same employee for a further 3 months. So it's a 3 plus 3. 3 months subsidy, 3 month retention of that group of employee. So the next question is, what if the employee resigns? What if the employee decided to disappear or go on medical leave, and what's not? So those are the questions we are also getting. Number one, if it's the employee resigns, you have to update the list with Perkeso. You can update as you go for the next 3 months, so that you know who.
So it's quite fluid, Rachel. In a sense, it's quite fluid in a sense.
You can continually update the list as you go along. So for example, you have currently, for example, 3 departments. One department, you have already gone on unpaid leave, right? But as time goes by, you want them to come back. When they come back, you can actually put in a new list to update their name into the wage subsidy. There's nothing to say you cannot do so.
Correct. Well, you know, there's also some questions. For example, while talking, we just addressed some of the questions we can answer on the spot. Some asking the size, what is the definition of SME? Maybe some of you may want to try. And then we have a question, how do you define 4,000 ringgit? Basic allowance overtime or just pure basic?
Section 224 of Akta Perkeso, it is there. It is basically covering all wages, including commission, OT, and also anything that's payable to the employee, with exception of annuity, gratuity, annual bonuses, and traveling allowance. So Section 2 of the Perkeso Act will tell you that those, if you are above 4,000, within means you receive commission, and what's not, you are not entitled.
Not entitled, exactly. So I also define it that way, that so long as you semua paukasai, semua tapau masuk 4,000, sorry, correct? You 4,001, tak boleh. Correct? That's how we define it. Yeah, that's how I tell my clients. Sometimes you got to talk to the client in a very simple, straightforward answer. Semua paukasai, semua 4,001 tak boleh. Then tak boleh. Okay, boleh. Then they know what to do. Yeah, but then also we have very interesting questions about this size of SME. I think we have to go through the Act of Parliament, and also there's a governing agency or the government dealing with SMEs, right? So that's there. Then we also have people questioning about redundancy cases at this moment, but we may come back to that later. Okay, so far, in short, people like Pam, they're trying to apply, and people like Rachel are trying to understand how to apply. Correct? Yeah. So
I'm an expert in filling up the form after this.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think at the rate we're going, the next few weeks, all of us will be form fillers.
Yes.
Right?
Or
Yeah.
rather, we will have to help our clients to check whether their employees are eligible, because there are employers who have employees who are getting commission, and then they are perhaps those incentives are not paid periodically. Like they don't pay every month. They might pay 3 months once. What will have that happen? What kind of document you have to prove that these people are still within 4,000? You see, so what is the EPF Perkeso is looking for? Yeah.
Good point.
Annual income of 4,000 that goes within 4,000, or what if his salary is 2,000, he gets a commission of 15,000 every quarter.
How do you calculate that? Yeah.
That would be also a question.
Yeah. Well, I suppose knowing the government, they'll try their best to calculate the other way around. The moment they will find any way to say you're above 4,000, so that's it. You know, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. Because to be fair, there's only so much money they can give. But you know, interestingly, just now Rachel, Pam, and I want to invite Pam to speak about this in more detail, because she spoke in very brief about the issue of redundancy and potential retrenchment and restructuring. So I'll come back to Pam, but what say you, Rachel? I didn't have a chance to get your view. From MECA's point of view, how do you deal with the principles and the thinking process which may lead towards a retrenchment?
That's a very good question. As a matter of fact, just now both of you gave 2 different scenarios of retrenchment. You were saying that there must be a show of business loss, and then Pam said there must be a restructure. Both of you are correct in that sense, because the definition of redundancy is excess of manpower. Retrenchment is an exercise of removing retrenchment is the exercise to remove the redundancy. So what would constitute a redundancy? It could be business loss. It could be a restructuring. It could be automation. It could be even outsourcing, right? All these scenarios will cause somewhere around the line some redundancy of manpower. And because of that, the company have to execute a retrenchment to remove those redundancy. So that is actually the definition that we always tell our client. Be clear what you're doing. If it's a retrenchment, why you're doing it? Is it because you have an additional manpower which is no longer in use? Like you cannot put them anywhere. There's nothing for them to do. That is where you consider it as redundancy.
I like that. Yeah. Pam, Sorry, Rachel. Sorry, I apologize. Sorry, I thought you finished. Sorry, all yours, Rachel. All yours. Yeah.
So the idea is that, and in order to execute the mindset or the process flow is, number one, you have to think about your company strategy moving forward. If it's a structure, then you ask yourself, who is going to be affected, right? How is it going to be affected? If you're only doing it because of a business loss, then you might consider the code of conduct of industrial harmony, where you last in, first out, because you don't care. You just want manpower. So
LIFA, the LIFA principle.
LIFO principle, last in, first out. So these are the things that you have to consider first and foremost. Where is your company heading after the retrenchment? Who are the stayers, and why these people have to leave? Otherwise, you are just doing retrenchment for the sake of doing retrenchment.
Yeah. Pam, because I think we would like to get your further views on this. The sound.
Okay.
All yours. Yes.
So actually, I wanted to also say that in terms of looking at redundancy and retrenchment, I think of course, ideally you will look at the LIFO principle, but also we have to think about the essential people. That doesn't mean that the last people that join are not essential. So I think that's really important as well.
So there's a balance.
Yeah, there must be a balance. I mean, you have to look at whether or not the new people are actually on the the key roles that you need to keep as well, right? So there must be always justification in looking at when you look at retrenchment or restructuring of a company. But yeah, I think that it's not going to be something that is very unusual that's going to happen. I foresee that companies are going to look into restructuring as we move forward.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. So I think that it's not a new concept, obviously. So it's better for us to understand how it's applied and actually not make any mistakes. Be careful. Yes, it will be a costly exercise.
Yeah.
It will cost you a little bit. I think companies should also think about staggering the process as well, because if not, like I said, cash flow is going to be quite a bit to pay out at one point in time.
Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, those who just logged in, it's already 6:10 p.m. At one time, we had about 270 old people. It's now 266. Thank you so much for logging in. We have some interesting questions. In fact, one gentleman by the name of Richard Pei even gave a comment what is defined as a SME. Thank you very much, Richard. For those who just joined in, my view, just as to throw in my view on this, I think at this moment, that's why the topic covers three: industrial relation, which means we may go to court; human resource, people like Pamela, what is in their mind, what are the principles they are which guides them, and then human resource practitioners like Rachel is a different kind of practitioner where they deal with mix of law and HR, and they deal with all these issues, conflict, etc. What are the principles they use to come to a conclusion? Like, for example, how they came to a conclusion that maybe the contract now is suspended, for example. So for me, as a practicing lawyer, many lawyers have different views. Of course, most of us will always take the law first. What does the law say? Employment Act, Industrial Act, blah, blah, blah. But looking at the situation out there, I don't think the law is fully equipped to deal with this. Some ask in the Q&A, how do you deal with force majeure? I can tell you 99% of the contract won't have a force majeure clause which say, kalau ada pandemic, contract boleh batal. I very rare would be someone put that one in, So therefore, it only goes back to what both Rachel and Pam has been saying. We should be transparent, have a town hall meeting with the staff between the employer and the employee. The employee also must give and take. The employer must not abuse the situation. And show your statistics, show your accounts, show your finance. What can the company do, especially the SMEs? So if the moment the company wants to go through some sort of restructuring exercise, I believe the company should do that. And on a serious note, if the case ever go to court, the fact that the company tried doing this, that evidence will work for the benefit of the company. The court will take that into account that, okay, the company tried. So these are things which I think people must take into account. Don't just follow law. There is some element of practicality which must come into place. Principles of fairness, transparency, and justice must come into place that way too. Okay, so ladies, on the point, force majeure. This I purposely slotted that in. Yeah, it's very favorite Latin phrase. Suddenly the whole world is talking about this one word. So Pam, how do you deal with this concept? Maybe you can even give a quick tuition to all of us. Apa itu force majeure?
I thought this was supposed to be your part, but okay. You're the lawyer.
Yeah, never mind. I give Chan.
I was just the formal one. Okay. So yeah, basically force majeure talks about the in the events that any catastrophe or an act beyond the control of both parties come into play, right? And I believe that a lot, like what you said, Rick, a lot of contracts, especially employment contracts, do not have this clause. And now, of course, we're more aware of it and we're starting to put it in, right? And I think that even if we do have this, we have to see that, okay, will both parties suffer from having this clause? What does it mean actually? Does it mean that the employee is just absolved from paying salary, and does it mean that the employee then is left without a job? How do we balance it out, and what does that clause actually mean? Of course, I look to you to give a little bit more insight on what that means to us. I understand what it means, but I'd like to hear from you as well.
Well, from a legal point of view, some of the comments have called me the BAC college speaker. Thank you very much. I'm not from BAC. I'm Richard Wee from the law firm of Richard Wee Chambers. And I apologize. Someone say I shouldn't, cut in. I apologize to the speakers. So we thought that the speaker is over, so we'll try to get back to that. So from my view, for force majeure, we first look at the clause. We look what the clause covers. And we, of course, look at the circumstances. And a lot of it is evidence, Pam. A lot of heavily revolving around evidence. There is no clear way to do it. So if I can use the tsunami, the tragic tsunami in Japan, we had clients who were importing items from Japan, and then they could not import because Japan went through that, particularly all the, for example, the sashimis and whatever. So luckily in the contracts that we were dealing with actually has a clause which dealt with natural disasters. So that was allowed the parties to review the contract, and therefore the party who could not deliver was not in breach for that moment in time. So the purchaser in Malaysia was not able to sue the Japanese supplier for not supplying the sashimi. So these are things we take into account. That's the legal part. Yeah. So for this incident, I am also perplexed. I was given a football contract recently to have a look. There was no pandemic clause. There was some natural disaster clause. So I informed the client, and I think you may have, you cannot seek refuge under force majeure. That was my legal position, and I think most lawyers will give that advice at the moment. Rachel, you want to add in anything?
I agree with you, Rick. The problem with people is suddenly everybody becomes like a quasi-legal expert. Everybody wants special terms in their contract, which cannot be due post facto, means you cannot do it after the contract has been signed. Maybe in your future, you can put in all sort of diseases that you all sort of, but not now. It's not, and we should not also try to go down that road, because honestly, it is actually more damaging to the relationship between employers and employee. We are always trying to, I think it's also the ministry's aspiration that employer-employee achieve a harmonious industrial relationship, whereby we try to go over and beyond just legality, but we also try to harmonize our thought process along the business line. We want to survive it and still have a business and still have an employee. Like if you're adamant to go down the road where you actually damage your relationship with the employees, how are they going to work for you after this?
Yeah.
Or how are they going to trust you as an employer after this, right? Yeah. So there are things that we have to consider when you are talking about business, not just legality, but the business sense of it is there should be a finesse, there should be a dots connecting both, and we should find a middle ground towards things like this. Like what Brick said, together we will prevail.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the Richard V. Chambers, our current hashtag. Yeah, together we will prevail. Yeah, we've got a lot of good questions here, ladies.
Yeah, I'm looking
It's
at some
already
of them.
yeah, it's 6:20 now, so I thought we should try and tackle some of the questions. Ladies and
Right.
gentlemen, thank you very much. There's 270 of us at the moment. We have almost 50 questions. Please receive our apology now that we may not be able to answer all. I'm going to try and group things together. Number one, what about NGOs, law firms, engineering firms? Will they fall within the definition of SME? I know the answer, but just one. There are some questions here.
Yeah, we already saw that, the Bar Council's circular on this, the definition. You go to SME Core and look at the definition of SME. I think law firms, engineering firm, partnerships do fall within it. And especially if you're also registered with your our local municipal, ROS also is considered, NGOs, so even statutory body, those people are also considered under SME, who are eligible to apply for the wage subsidy. For the purpose of wage subsidy, they are accepting all these people.
Good point. Pam, I have a interesting question. If an employer an employee is still under probation now, do you think in your human resource principle, would you consider extending the probation now? Or
Well, if you look at it, a person on probation, they're on probation because you want to evaluate their performance during this period, right? Whether or not they can actually do what they're supposed to do. And for example, if they are not able to work from home, right, then that means they're not able to actually perform their work. So how do you evaluate that, right? I think it's only fair if an employer speaks to the employee to explain to them, this is what it is. Of course, unless they come up with a creative way of, for this person to actually perform something to show that they are actually up to the mark. So I think it's not something that is impossible. And I think both parties have to just accept the fact that now is not the time for them to be able to perform what they were supposed to do.
Perform, yeah. So the contract kind of like, there's a slight variation to the intention and purpose of the. In fact, I'll dare say this, all the employment contracts that we have at this moment, don't you agree with me, ladies, if I use this word, the character and identity of all our employment contracts have changed. The original character cannot be applied anymore for now, in this current moment, because so much changes, we're not even sure what we can and cannot do. So there's a lot of, the question to the very basic of the character of the contract itself. Yeah, we have a question here from for Pam actually. He says that earlier on, very interesting when you mentioned about potential about reviewing of salary, and that you mentioned about the word 10%. The question here is, Pam, when you talk about salary reduction and given back to the staff with interest when the cash flow of the company is getting better, from your perspective, what's the good percentage we should consider? So this is just a guide. I don't think TK, he wants you to give a 100% answer. What kind of guide would you give? Yeah, your sound.
Hello?
Yes.
All right, we're back. I think it really goes down to how the company is forecasted to perform. I'm sure that the finance team would also be involved in this, and the sales team will be involved in reforecasting what the numbers are going to look like, right, in terms of revenue. So I think you have to look at the picture holistically. I can't give you a number on a percentage of how much, but perhaps it will be better to benchmark against maybe the FD and the bank, how much FD the bank will give, and maybe give something a little bit more interesting than that, I would say.
Interesting. I like that. To benchmark the bank. Yeah, good point. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Another idea for you to consider. We have another question for both of you to try and tackle. He talks about here, hang on, I saw it, I just missed it. What about employees who are not covered under the Employment Act. Rachel, you know, there are many employees out there who are not covered under the Employment Act. They're outside the scope of Employment Act.
Right.
Is there any remedy? I mean, do you think there's any solution for these employees? Or even employers? Yeah, either way.
Thing is, the question is right now, why are the differences between those who are not covered under Employment Act is that their wages is below 2,000 or they are laborers, okay? And those who are not, we have to fall back on Contracts Act. Either way, the remedy is still the same in the IR Act, which is the Industrial Relation. If you find that yourself has been terminated unlawfully, either EA, employees under EA or not under EA, both can still go to court and sue their employer. There's no changes in the remedies. And in terms of pay cut, if it's across the board, let's say you're doing a 10% across the board, whether employees are EA or not EA, you still have to do your due diligence by informing the Labour Department on who you are, who is getting the pay cut. So if it's a 10% across the board, everybody, then you have to declare as well. Procedural-wise, it's the same, whether EA or non-EA. Doesn't mean that you're not under EA means I can just deduct salary. No. You still need consent for both either EA employees or non-EA employees. You need consent for pay cut as well.
True. So in short, this will also answer one of the questions here, Rachel. I was going to inquire about the issue of unilateral one-way traffic deduction and reduction of salary. So in short, the answer is no. Employer can't do that. Yeah. So what about this question? Coming from Vince Chong, if the company that, okay, here is, I read out, I think it may help the audience to explain that retrenchment comes with the payment of retrenchment benefits. But in companies that is fighting for survival and has no choice but to retrench, what happens? In short, it's talking about cash flow. So as you know, when any employer wants to take a retrenchment, the route of a retrenchment, the company is obliged to give retrenchment benefit. Tapi kalau syarikat itu tak ada duit, what say you, Pam? In your, again, I know MUI doesn't have that problem, but what would you do in that position?
I think, you know, of course, I think a lot of companies would definitely have to think about, you know, how do you pay out the retrenchment benefits, right, to avoid getting taken to court. I think you have to stagger out, like what I said earlier, you have to stagger out this process. It could be by batches, it can be by individuals, or and also think about like how much cash flow you actually can spend during that time. And I think that, you know, you can also have probably a mutual separation or have a VSS, offer a VSS, so that, you know, you can manage the costs.
Interesting. So, oh, is Pam, are you there, Pam? Okay, never mind. We'll move on to Rachel. I think there's something wrong with Pam's internet. I hope she comes back. So, Rachel, do you have any comment on that? As what Vince's question, you know, issue of have you faced such a situation where your customers and clients ask you, what can I do? Any comment?
First and foremost, retrenchment benefit, if it's not stated in your contract, which I guess most of us don't really have that, technically those who are not under the Employment Act, your termination clause is the only one that is presiding over the whole idea of this retrenchment benefits. Basically, what I'm saying is, if you're under EA, there's an obligation for termination benefits, which is under the Termination and Layoff Regulation 1980. There's a ruling that you have to pay a certain money to people who are under the EA. Well, about those who are not under the EA, technically speaking, you don't have to, because it's not stated anywhere in your contract that there will be a form of retrenchment benefits. If the contract is silent, the most that the company needs to do is to give you a notice, which is depending on what your termination clause says. So if your termination clause says there's a 3 months notice, so if I were asked you to serve your 3 months notice and then you leave, that's all you need to do. There is no cash or retrenchment benefit you want to give. But in the case of offering an MSS or a VSS, now that's a little different because that creature is an alternative to a retrenchment. It's not a retrenchment. It's a process where you're trying to get your employees to voluntarily leave. And if they're going to voluntarily leave, they're not going to leave without a hands kosong. They want something in return.
Yeah.
So consideration, you're offering some money. So those are what you call, in layman terms, is retrenchment benefit. I prefer to call it a severance sum because it's to severe a contract. I'm giving you in consideration. So MSS and VSS work that way. So if you're leaving on your own accord, I'm willing to pay you X amount of money. Negotiable and also dictatable by either parties.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So that is a different creature. MSS and VSS is not retrenchment. It's an alternative process to retrenchment, where you're trying to get your employees, look, whoever is ready to go, I'm willing to give you X amount of money. That's all I have now, but if you're going, I'm going to give you this. Some people might have plans. Maybe they decided that I don't want to work anymore, I just want to take a break. So they might go for that package and say, yeah, I'll take it and I will be on my way. So it's not a retrenchment, it's a voluntary separation where parties agree to mutually end the contract of employment. So
that's one potential scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Pam, we lost you for one moment.
Yeah.
You were midway through saying talking about VSS. Would you like to complete what you say?
Yeah, I think what Rachel has already, beautifully put it. It is, it doesn't look bad. Retrenchment always has this negative connotation. So, VSS, MSS is very voluntary. Of course, it's subject to application and approval. So, that's something that perhaps, like what Rachel said as well, someone else has other plans already. They're thinking, okay, maybe I don't want to stay in the company because the company might not be very stable in the long run. I want to, have some money for me to go and start up another business or whatever it is. So, sometimes people can think about, offering whatever that they can afford to, and then, leave on very amicable terms.
Something we may have to go through the next few months, unfortunately. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll just take, it's already 6:32, so we are 2 minutes into it, but we'll just take one last question. This is the issue of the group agreement. So let's say if both employer, employee, they meet together, they explain, parties explain each other, and the employer explain, look, sorry, dude, I'm short of cash. And then Vincent Tay asked that if a majority of the employees accept a pay cut, but the rest refuse to, so what do we do? Do we still pay that other rest the full salary, or do we come up with some sort of a concord agreement to cover everything? What say you, Pam?
I think definitely that's something to think about. That's very difficult for us to decide for the employer on what to do. For myself, I think there maybe you can go for a vote with everyone, like you said in town hall. Go for a vote. If everyone agrees to it, then we'll have to do that. And if not, then what other more of a win-win situation can you go for, right? Of course, it's not very good look if an employee goes, I want to go for my full salary, when all these other colleagues are going, okay, fine, we want to help the company as well. So I think have more talks and more conversations to be able to reach to an agreement. Together
we will prevail.
Exactly.
Yes, I like that. Yeah. So I think this is a moment of time where there must be a lot of discussion, open discussions between the employer and employee. There is no easy way. I think we can agree on that. There may not be there won't be an ideal way also at the moment, but there will be a workable way at this stage. Don't you think so? Yeah.
Yeah.
Rachel, you want to say something about the question before we wrap things up? And I like the book. Both of you do your summary. Anything? The question about ada yang tak mau, ada yang mau. What do you think?
I go with Pam, taking a vote, or alternatively have a survey on this whole pay cut. If you can gauge what is the acceptance level, then you know whether pay cut is the right way to go. And of course, my idea is just an idea, right? If you can have a survey, by participating in the survey, you are agreeable that the company's next step, you're agreeable with whatever the outcome of the survey, we will go with the outcome of the survey.
I see. So accepting the result of the survey.
Accepting the result of the survey by conducting the survey, by taking the survey. And those who did not take the survey means have given blanket approval. I think it's an idea that you can just...
You are fierce, Rachel. Yeah, very fierce. Yeah.
Yes.
The employees won't like you. Yeah.
Well, it is an idea only. It doesn't work all the time. What if you get a 40% acceptance? Sorry, I cannot do anything as well. 40% for both ideas. Let's say you have two ideas, on pay cut and unpaid leave or whatever. Board also you get 20%. That means what? You still can't proceed. So
Yeah.
it's only for you to be able to understand better is when you go down to your ground and ask your employees what they think, what is the solution. Now there's a story that I read recently, a CEO by the name of Dan Price. What he did was he went down to the ground and checked with every employee what is their thought pay cuts and what can they take. Some say they can take 20, some say they can take 10 because some just had a new baby, just got a new mortgage. So what he did was he initiated a pay cut according to what the employee can afford. And of course, promised to pay them back when times are better with interest. So the one who is willing to give up more will end up getting more at the end of the day, like what Pam suggested earlier. And those who's giving up less, right, will be, the returns will be lesser. But that way, he creates a balance where all the employee is still financially able to care for themselves while working with you with a level.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well,
That's
go on.
That's an idea as well.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
exactly,
very
yeah.
dynamic. Yeah, I think that's good.
At least we offer solutions at this moment, no matter how odd or weird or radical it may sound, but at least there is some potential solution. We should, well, we're coming to an end already. I apologize. I think one gentleman, Mr. Eddie, wrote a very long and very well written comment. He inquired about the WSP. I don't think we have enough time to answer this, but Eddie, perhaps I know this is like in a way pushing the buck. I'm sorry to do this, but perhaps the Prekeso may be able to answer your queries, or you can contact Rachel after this. You can't contact Pamela because she's contracted to MUI Group, so she only answered to MUI. But I think Rachel will be able to help you after this, right? Before we come to an end, can I invite the two speakers to give your summary? Pamela first. How do you like to summarize today, and then come to conclusion?
I guess for me, it's we're constantly learning. Although, you know, how many years in practice, there's still a lot of things that are going to keep changing. We're going to be faced with a lot of different situations. And I would say the best thing to do is talk to your peers, talk to your colleagues, talk to people like Rachel and also Richard, you know, to find out different ideas and different ways of approaching all these things, because not everyone would have the answer, and probably you and I also don't have all the answers. I think that you know, learning as we go along is very important, and you know, try and look at things in a win-win situation for both parties. You know, so that's how I would look at this whole session.
Yeah, thank you, very nicely put up. Rachel, your summary, please.
Well, I thought that today's session is really interesting because it is just right where my comfort zone is. And thanks to you, I get a little bit more ideas from Pam and yourself as well. I think whatever both of you have given also added to my knowledge today. And like what you said, Pam, we're all learning. I'm also learning. Every day I'm thinking of new ideas to tell my client. But it's in a way, the work has been even more trying, but in a good way. We are learning, we are growing. What we can see is that people are also trying to find a middle ground to work out through this hard time. Whether you're a law firm, whether you're SME, everybody is trying. So I would like to end by saying that people don't give up, whether you're an employer or employee. There will always be bad times in employment, but over time we learn and we can actually be better from where we are. It's just that this time around we were not able to address a lot of things because it's something new for all of us. Everybody is going through it. So in short, it's a learning process, like you said, for everyone, even myself on a day, every day. But all we can do is, as we go along, we try not to be too engaged or too inward looking. If we are going to make a decision, try to make a decision that actually benefit both parties, both employer and employee. Because long term, you want to see your business sustain, right? And you want to see yourself to succeed as well. That's all I can say.
Well stated, well done. Well, ladies and gentlemen, can I trouble all of you to give the two speakers a cyber applause? You know, they've prepared very hard for this. You know, they've had sleepless night. I purposely asked them difficult questions to get ready for today. And then when we found out that more than 400 people sign up. All three of us got panic. So thank you very much to the two ladies. I thought you handled the situation very, very well. To all the participants, a big round of applause to all of you. 280 people at the peak of the event. Terima kasih. It's already almost dinner time and you're still logged on. Thank you very much for logging in. Like I said, if you have any inquiries, you can contact Rachel. I am Richard Wee from the law firm of Richard Wee Chambers. Just some information. We are running this Impact series. It's called the Impact Series Talk. So last week we had the Impact series on the impact of COVID-19 on the sports business. That was a very good talk from two stakeholders who informed us the problem with the COVID-19 on sports. This coming Friday, we are having a talk on the COVID-19 impact on tourism, where we have a speaker from a university and a resort scheduled to speak on the day. As you know, tourism is in big trouble. So we would like to see what we can do. On Monday, we have a talk on this coming Monday. We have an impact of COVID-19 on the SME and startups, where one of the speakers is from MDEC, Malaysian Digital Economy. So watch out for that. It's coming on Monday. I think it's about 4 o'clock. So, and also as this Brickfields College being a very progressive, they're always enterprising. They have launched a Veritas University College, which it started for the first ever pay forward university, where someone can pay forward to somebody for the tuition fees. Well done to BAC. And they've also started an HRDA Academy for HRDF classes. So watch out for their information on this. I'm not working with BAC, by the way, even though on the screen is written there BAC College. But I thought, let me help BAC inform people what they're doing. With that in mind, I would like to tell everybody, stay safe. Thank you very much, Pamela. Thank you very much, Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Very well. Yeah, it was such an enjoyable session. I wish we could do it longer. And to everybody, please stay safe. Wash your hands. Stay at home. Yeah, and my favorite hashtag we are doing in my law firm now. All of us must do it as a group, as one, because together we will prevail. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you very much. Take care. Bye, everybody. Bye.